So, long story short, I had a crappy 1999 Plymouth Breeze that I was driving around. It's a free car, my grandpa gave it to me, but the thing was falling apart. So, I decided to go and sell it, get $2,000 for it, and see if I could find one of these things. I found this, some Polish guy in Syracuse, New York had it for like $1,000. Great deal for a car that used to cost about $50K, something like that. But I think it's a good deal, and I rid myself of that nasty, nasty little Plymouth. Anyway, this is a 1984 Mercedes 300D turbo diesel. Ask me, why the hell did I buy a diesel when I got a thing for Firebirds? Well, I'm a college student, I have no money, and diesels are way more efficient. This thing is getting upwards of maybe, I haven't exactly clocked it because my odometer is a little flaky right now, but I think it's getting right around 35, almost 40 miles per gallon, so not too bad, even if the diesel is about $4.35 per gallon, so yeah. Anyway, this thing has roughly 215,000 miles on it. Absolutely nothing for this engine's life. These things last at least 500,000 if you take care of them. Got some rust right here. Little ding right there, and some paint's flaking off. There's a hole underneath here, but there's nothing visible. A little bit more rust. And the clear coat's fading off along with some of the top coat. But got a buddy that'll fix that up for cheap. Most of the chrome is still good. It's all shiny and stuff. Got a sunroof, but the cable that pulls it forward and backward and everything kind of all gunked up from sitting for about 20 years, so it doesn't like to open unless it's a nice sunny day like today. We got stock. Got these puffy leather seats. Each one of these things feel like they got a freaking box spring under it, dude. It's all bouncy and stuff. It's really weird when I drove this home for the first time. Anyway, it's got the oversized steering wheel that I'm used to. About the same size as the Firebirds. At least the 3rd gen anyway. I don't know if the 4th gens are smaller. Probably are. And, yeah, everything's easy to read. Even got this analog clock here, but unfortunately this capacitor blown or something, and it doesn't like to work. Unfortunately, some idiot went and put this crappy Pioneer stereo in here that doesn't even frickin' work. Bad wiring, and I gotta fix that. Used to have this beautiful Becker radio in it, but I guess I have to find another one. Non-interlocking shifter. Just depends on how you tilt it. Window controls and hazards. Right mirror control, stock radio fader. This thing does have air conditioning, but I think the pump is seized up, so the belt's not even hooked to it right now, so I assume that's a no-go. Still got this thing, like I ever use it. Sorry to scare you. Anyway, got these awesome sort of bucket seats, not exactly. Back seats are incredible though. Look at that. It's like 2 buckets seat. It's freaking awesome. It does have cruise control, but I think the switch is bad or the fuse just keeps popping loose or something, because it doesn't like to work on an average day. And one downside to these engines, required to buy some pretty high-class fluids. Mobil 1 full synthetic 0W40. Can't run these things off a 10W30 or anything like that, otherwise they'll probably fry itself in extreme hot or extreme cold. Gotta have the full range. Better yet, even 5W50 maybe. Fortunately, these things have vacuum locks for everything, so even if I go to release the trunk, it doesn't open. It's got the stupid vacuum solenoid kind of deal in there. All these power locks are actually vacuum cylinders. So, hit this one down, the rest of them are supposed to go down. Pull it up, the rest of them are supposed to go up. But there's a massive vacuum leak somewhere, and it's screwing all of them up, and unfortunately it's not shifting right, so I gotta coax it with the shifter to actually go in the right gear. Well, I'll show you the engine. And yes, in case you're about to ask me in the comments, I know what I'm talking about when I say that this is a Mercedes-Benz straight 5-cylinder turbo diesel. Yep, 5-cylinder. I think. Well, isn't that unbalanced? Surprisingly not. It's got a harmonic balancer up in front here and seems to work just fine. I don't feel it shake much at all, ever. Plus, these things even have like a shock underneath the engine to keep it from shaking like crazy or anything. It's a little different than your average gasser. Quite a bit different, actually. Got this whole damn thing here, this pump, and that distributes to each cylinder accordingly, to each of these injection nozzles. Instead of having individual injectors, it's a whole injection pump. Of course, if you already know your diesel stuff, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't need to say anything more. Yeah, looks a little dirty, but that's just how diesel engines are. The oil leaks out, and because of the blow-by, the sulfur in the diesel fuel, it turns the oil black. It's a healthy thing. Don't ever think that black oil in a diesel is a bad thing. As long as you change it every 10,000 miles or so if it's synthetic. And you can't run these things with anything less than a massive Group 49 battery. Run a little dinky 12 volt in this thing and it'll destroy it. Here's the cruise control. Goes and pulls all the linkages there. Things are a real pain in the ass to go and lubricate. This is power steering, I believe. Fuel filter. Underneath there somewhere is a vacuum pump, because these things don't have a manifold vacuum like gassers naturally do. So this thing has to have its own pump to go and actuate all the locks and everything, and yeah, it gets a little flaky. Got the EGR valve plugged off and everything, but I think it's still stuck open, so I'm just going to pull that thing off. Right under here, I don't know if you can see it. Right? This elbow is right here. That's a turbocharger. I almost bought one of these things that had a small 4-cylinder engine with no turbocharger, which is the 240D, 2.4 liter. This is 300, which means it's 3 liter. That thing would have had about 65 horsepower, maybe 70. Diesels do not have very much horsepower stock. This thing has right about 140 with the turbocharger. If not the turbocharger, then it would be about 80 or so, 80 or 90. So I was not going to settle for any less than a turbocharger. Once in a great, I don't know, someday when I find them, I'm going to get the European style headlights, which are the rectangular style as opposed to these ugly round ones, and plus these are getting all sun damaged. This one's cracking like crazy. This one's already cracked through in the plastic. But anyway, I'll start her up for you. Get my keys out. Alright, some of you may or may not know very much about diesels. And diesels, there's no spark plug. It combusts the fuel with only compression alone. So the piston goes up and squeezes up against the head, and then the compression alone heats up the fuel, and then boom! That's where you get compression. You don't even need a spark plug. But when these engines are cold, they don't like to combust that way. So what happens is you have to run the glow plugs, which are basically just these little prong thingies that heat up and get yellow hot and then help the engine to start. Unfortunately, mine is not set up right, because I'm thinking a heat sensor went bad or something, and somebody jerry-rigged it so when you turn it to run, light goes on there. It's supposed to go on automatically and then shut off the light when it's ready. But somebody jerry-rigged it, so I got to flip this toggle switch down here. Now, might not be very safe to have a toggle switch like that, but I just let it run until that other light goes off, and then a few seconds, then turn. There she is. A little cold, but she's running. No, that's not knocking, that's just a massive sound of the diesel. Wondering why this thing is so loud. The exhaust system is pretty much destroyed. Somebody did a terrible job. I don't think you can see it very well, but for the resonator, it's completely broken off, no muffler, and there's about 2 other holes in here. I don't care, it sounds good. It sounds like a Detroit diesel almost while going down the road. Rubber up for you. Let's get turbocharger spooling up. Let's go for a quick drive. See, other problems I'm going to have to fix in this thing are that window and that window do not open. Driver's side and this one, however, do. Although that one's regulator's going pretty bad. There's the sunroof. See, on a hot day it'll open up almost all the way, but then once it cools down from driving it won't want to open again. But anyway, I'll show you what it does when I just leave it in plain old drive. So what happens is the vacuum, if the vacuum is low, it does not like to start up right or shift up into fourth. They'll just slip. She roars. See right there, it took it too long to shift. There's not enough vacuum, it won't shift on time either. But what I have to do is I got to start it down in S and then work up to D as soon as it hits third gear. Maybe that's some kind of romping on it a little bit. Any person would think you're supposed to drive this thing like a granny, like so. Just get going, just get going. In about 40 seconds you'll reach about 40 miles an hour. Hell no. Hit the kick-on switch. He is a beast. Whoa, tight turn. But she actually works pretty well once you get up to speed. The only thing is the final drive is geared 2 to 1. So that means 2 revolutions for 1 revolution of the wheels, which is very, very low geared. Not the greatest if you want speed, but then again, this thing doesn't have enough low-end horsepower to really accelerate that well. It's got enough low-end torque, but yeah, I'm not about to explain the difference. Even I'm a little flaky when it comes to the difference between them. But, like right now, I can hit overdrive at about 30, 35 miles an hour. That's fourth gear, right there. So you gotta hit about 3,000 RPMs to hit 60, 65, something like that, depending on what's going on. Like wind resistance and all that other junk. Another thing is I gotta fix the alternator. For some reason it's not doing its job. It's a brand new battery, brand new alternator, but I think what happened is some idiot was doing a bad job of boosting this and crossed the wires and cooked part of the insulation on the wire, and now it's arcing. And that's probably why I stopped charging, so I gotta plug this thing in every night. At least with these diesels, there's no electric part of the engine, so it'll just work. As long as you don't use any power, no fan, no radio, no nothing. It's all mechanical, like the good old days. Yep, right there, slip. Oh, brake warning light. Just a problem with the switch, I'll fix it. And there's my birdie baby. Haven't found a name for it yet, but I think I'm going to call this Benz Irina. Kind of a German name. It works. And for the record, don't do what I just did. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to let the turbo cool down for at least a few minutes. So if you shut off a hot turbo, something over 300 degrees, this is what happens to the rotor. It goes and busts apart. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully in the future I will add some repair or modification videos, and hopefully a video of this beautiful birdie right here. But another time. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. I'm Firebird Gangsta, and goodbye.